Koshchei. No, keep the Kosh.
Oh, wait.
It's the CH after the SH. Shchei. Koshchei. So this story is called The Death of Koshchei the Deathless. It starts off with Prince Ivan and his 3 sisters. Their parents on their deathbed told their only son Ivan to wed his 3 sisters at any chance they got. Agreeing, Ivan was determined to take care of his sister. Next, he and his sister Maria went to the garden where suddenly a storm with black clouds came in and Ivan hurried his sister into the house. Entering the palace...
Wait, what just happened?
Entering the palace, the ceiling split open and in came a falcon as it touched the ground and turned into a young man. The young man said, "Let me marry your sister." Ivan responded with, "I don't care, ask my sister." Agreeing, his sister married the falcon and was taken back to the falcon's realm. 1 year later, he takes his second sister, Olga, and the same thing happens again with an eagle. A year later, for the 3rd time, his sister Anna was then married to a raven. Alone and without sisters, another year goes by. Ivan then decides he wants to go find his sisters. Along his journey to meet his sisters, he is faced with fields of dead warriors. He questions the being that caused all of the disaster. Later, finding a tent, he meets a lady named Morevna. Morevna is seemed to be the cause of everything, and after spending 3 nights with her, Ivan then becomes attracted to her. They eventually get married, and Morevna takes him back to her realm to live. Living all happily, Morevna then decides to go back to war and leave Ivan back at home. Before Morevna left, she specifically told Ivan not to open the closet, and it was the only thing that she asked him to do. As soon as she left, Ivan went to open the closet, and what was laid before him was Koshchei the Deathless, locked up in chains. Begging Ivan for water, Ivan just went ahead and got him a bucket of water. After giving him water, Koshchei continued to beg for more, and Ivan had given him more buckets of water. After 3 buckets of water total, Koshchei breaks free of his chains and thanks Ivan for his service. He then swears to go get his revenge on Morevna and flies away like a hurricane and swoops Morevna off the ground and takes off. Once again lonely and weeping, 3 days pass. Reaching an oak tree, Ivan finds himself meeting his brother-in-law, the falcon. And through the falcon, he meets his sister, Maria, that he has not seen in years. They catch up on life, but he really wants to go get Morevna back, and for some reason they ask Ivan to leave a silver spoon behind in memory of Ivan, and so he does. 3 days pass once again, and he meets the eagle and his sister Olga. They ask each other how they've been, but Ivan is still determined in getting his wife back. Olga asks him to leave a silver fork in memory of him, as he does before leaving again on his journey. Another 3 days pass, and he finds the raven and his sister Anna. They talk for a bit and catch up, and Anna asks for him to leave his silver snuff box in memory before he leaves. Ivan does, and he continues his journey of getting his wife back.
When Ivan finally arrives at Koshchei's house, his wife is rightfully angry at him for coming to save her because she knows that this is a life-threatening situation. But throwing caution to the wind, Ivan takes his wife on his noble yet very slow steed, and they ride away off into the sunset. When Koshchei's servant tells him about this fact, he says that there would be no need to go after them right now, but they will let a whole season of wheat grow, then bake that wheat into bread, and then feast on that bread before they go off and get Ivan and Morevna. Solely because he thinks they're that slow, probably, but I'm not quite sure. So they do this whole exaggerated wait period of time, and they end up still catching the couple, probably right next to the sun at this point. When he catches him, he takes Morevna back, and Ivan is left there crying. But Ivan does not give up hope, and he decides to head right back to Koshchei's place and get his wife back. This time, the same exact things happened. An exaggerated period of time goes past, this time with Barley getting drunk and sobering up the next day. But this time when they are caught, Koshchei gives him a more serious threat of chopping him up into little bits and throwing him into the ocean if this ever happens again. But Ivan obviously does not give a rip about his own life or the life of his wife. So he goes back, and guess what? He gets caught again. And guess what? Koshchei chops him up into little bits, puts him in a barrel, seals that barrel up, and tosses it right into the middle of the ocean. But passing by is one of his the eagle of his brother-in-law, and they pull the barrel out of the water, knowing that it's Koshchei, and he sends for his brothers, who the raven goes off to a mountain to get the water of death, while the falcon goes off to another mountain to get the water of life, and they all meet up and have a little powwow. They crack open the boy out of the cold one barrel and reassemble him with the water of death, so he's still dead but now not into little bits anymore, and they resurrect him with the water of life, and he is stunned, but he asks how long he's been asleep for. After explaining that he had died, actually, they say that maybe you should get a faster horse, and they give him directions past the 9 hills, through the 13 kingdoms, over the fiery river, to the Baba Yaga's house, where they have many of the fastest horses on the world. So he's like, yeah, that's a good plan. And just before he leaves, the brothers give him this magic handkerchief to cross the fiery river, because the fiery river doesn't seem too easy to cross. So he says, wave this handkerchief thrice amount of times in your right hand, and a bridge will appear. So he makes his way across the 9 hills and through the 13 kingdoms, and when he gets to the fire river, he waves the handkerchief 3 times, crosses smoothly, but now it's the last little stretch to get to the Baba Yaga's place, and he's getting very hungry. But this time, he decides that he wants to stop right now and eat. So he's looking around him, and he sees a chicken, and so he goes to the chicken, and he's about to kill this chicken to eat it, and the chicken begins to beg for his life, and being graceful, he spares the chicken and decides to just find another thing to eat. So the next logical decision from a chicken is obviously a lion cub, so he goes to a lion cub, finds it, same exact thing happens, begs for his life, shows grace, moves on, now this time to a honeycomb. And guess what? The exact same thing happens. He doesn't eat the honeycomb and just decides to keep going on to Baba Yaga's house. When he arrives at Baba Yaga's house, it's encircled by 11 stakes with people's heads stuck on them, which is kind of a dangerous sign that this is not going to turn out well for him. But again, he obviously doesn't care about his own life, so he goes into the Baba Yaga's house and decides to try to strike up a deal to get a faster horse. Baba Yaga is so he's making a deal with the Baba Yaga. She says that if he keeps her horses for 1 whole year, doesn't lose any, doesn't injure any, she will not kill him and simply give him a horse. But if he loses even one of the horses, then she will kill him and put his head on a stake. And Ivan is like, hey, well, I don't know if a year will work, but how about 3 days? Because, 3 is a nice number. That happens a lot in this story. So the Baba Yaga agrees to 3 days because she knows for a fact that she can just tell the horses to run away and she'll get another head for her stake collection. So Koshchei accepts this deal and they begin the next day.
Raven accepts the deal.
So Ivan accepts this deal and they begin the next day.
Yeah. Weird. Oh. Whenever you're ready, boo.
Are you ready, kids? So Ivan agreed and was fed and taken care of at the Baba Yaga's house. So once it was time to take care of the horses, they all ran away into the meadow, and Ivan couldn't catch up to them, so he decided to take a nap instead because he was sad. So while he was taking a nap, a bird came to wake him up and told him that all the horses had made it back home safe and sound. The Baba Yaga was furious and asked the horses why they came back, and they answered telling him that they were attacked by birds. The Baba Yaga instructed them to run away, but into a thick forest the next time. So the next morning, the horses all ran away again, but into the thick forest this time. Ivan once again couldn't catch up to them, so he took a nap instead. Now this time, he was woken up by a lioness that told them that the horses had all made it back again. And the Baba Yaga was furious and asked the horses why they came back. And they answered him, telling him that they were attacked by beasts. The Baba Yaga instructed them to run away, but into the blue sea the next time. So the next morning, all the horses ran away again, but into the blue sea this time. And Ivan, for the 3rd time, couldn't catch up to them and took another nap instead. This time he was woken up by a bee that told him that all the horses had made it back again.
This time the bee also told him to go back to the Baba Yaga's house without being seen, to hide in the stable, steal a horse, and run away in the middle of the night. The Baba Yaga once again interrogated the horses, but this time they were attacked by bees. Once the Baba Yaga went to bed, Ivan saddled the horse and rode off to the fiery river. Once at the river, Ivan waved his handkerchief in his right hand 3 times, which made a bridge appear, and then once he was across, he waved it twice in his left hand to make the bridge really thin. Once the Baba Yaga woke up, she noticed one of her horses was missing, so she chased after Ivan, but once she reached the bridge, it collapsed and she fell to her death. Okay. Ivan went to the meadow to feed his horse and converted it into a wondrous steed, where he then rode to where Maria Morevna was. He explained how he came back to life, and they both flew away on his heroic steed. Koshchei the Deathless came home, and his horse told him that Ivan had rescued Maria, so they chased after him, even though Ivan's steed was faster. Koshchei somehow reached Ivan and was going to kill him again when Ivan's steed kicked Koshchei's head and cracked his skull. Ivan finished him off with a club and burnt his body. Ivan and Maria now took both steeds and went to visit the raven, the eagle, and the falcon, where they celebrated. After celebrating, they all headed back to their own realm, and that's the end.
Koshchei the Deathless.
Koshchei the Deathless.
Alright.